What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here, and this is my review of Titanfall 2, showcasing what exactly this game has to offer, and answering the question I think a lot of people have, is Titanfall 2 worth buying? So, let's get started. And we're going to start off here with something that, funny enough, the original Titanfall didn't even have. A single player. It seems kind of like an obvious thing. Most games have a single player element. However, again, the original Titanfall decided to purely focus on multiplayer. Although I kind of respect that decision. They said that we're going to be a pure multiplayer game. The fact is, a lot of people missed out on the single player, and there's elements of the story and the setting and what exactly is going on that just weren't explained very well in the original Titanfall. You really didn't get a huge sense for the militia, the IMC, what is going on pretty much at all. Titanfall 2 aimed to fix that and again offered a single player. Now I've got to be honest with you guys, when I was first going to play the single player and when I first got Titanfall 2, I was really thinking that it was going to be a neat addition to the game, but nothing special. You know, you could play single player when you didn't really feel like playing multiplayer. It was going to be neat, but again, nothing incredible, nothing groundbreaking. But I was shocked by how good the single player has been so far. Now, I haven't quite beaten the single player, but from what I've played and experienced and what other people are saying as well, the single player is really good. Titanfall really went above and beyond this time around to provide an entertaining and interesting single-player campaign. The set pieces are absolutely gorgeous. The relationship between you and your Titan is very well written. There's a lot of legitimately humorous scenes. Like, I found myself actually laughing a few times when playing this campaign. That doesn't happen. Like, I'm not, chuckling left, right, and center for the single-player campaigns I play in video games. But again, Titanfall 2 did a fantastic job of actually introducing some interesting and humorous elements between you and your Titan. And the single player does a much better job of actually explaining kind of what's going on, explaining the militia's position, which you play as, a lot better than the original Titanfall ever did. And furthermore, the campaign isn't just an interesting storyline and doesn't just provide good dialogue and good relationships with the characters in it. Well, when I say characters, I mainly mean you and your Titan's relationship. The other characters aren't really developed too much. In fact, it really outright focuses on the relationship between you and your Titan, so don't expect anything more than that. However, there's also very interesting and very entertaining gameplay elements. One thing that really stood out to me, I don't want to give too much away because of spoilers for those of you who are interested in playing the single player offering of Titanfall 2, but one element I really did enjoy, and I will spend time talking about this, is that there was a level where you were involved in time rifts and you obtained a device that could let you go backwards and forwards in time on a whim. Like, you just press a button and you would go forwards in time to this post-apocalyptic wasteland, and then you could just press the same button, go backwards in time, and you were running through this complex going forward and backwards. Like, you go forward, see a bunch of enemies, go backwards in time in order to flank around those enemies or in order to access areas of the map that you couldn't access in one of the timelines. It was so interesting, and it was an element of a single player in a first-person shooter that, again, is so much different than what you usually get with Call of Duty. It's like, I don't remember Call of Duty having anything nearly as interesting as that sequence for the past God knows how many games. It's very important to remember that the people making Titanfall 2, Respawn Entertainment, was the original Infinity Ward. The people that made COD 4, the people that made Modern Warfare 2 are making Titanfall 2. They're no longer with Infinity Ward. Infinity Ward is a shell of its former self. Almost all of the developers moved on to Respawn. And you see those elements, those Call of Duty 4, those Modern Warfare 2, groundbreaking elements that were so fantastic at the time, reimagined and re-envisioned, and you do see them in Titanfall 2, and it's absolutely fantastic. So the single player is very entertaining. I would highly recommend you play it. If you can get this down the line, even if you're not super interested in the multiplayer, at some kind of online sale, I would recommend doing that just for the single player. Borrow your friend's Titanfall 2 just to play the single player. It's that good. Moving on though, we have really the bread and butter of the game, and frankly most games as of late, the multiplayer. The biggest problem with the multiplayer doesn't involve Titanfall at all. Frankly, it involves Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty. You may be saying, what? That doesn't make any sense. You're reviewing Titanfall 2. What does this have to do with Battlefield 1? But straight up, guys, my main concern about the Titanfall multiplayer is that no one is playing it. I have Titanfall 2 for the PC. This may be different on the consoles. I think there's a little bit more population on the consoles, but on the PC, the servers are pretty empty. Heck, I can't even find a match some of the times in the day for 8v8 variety. Like, I'd love to play that game mode, but there's just not enough people actually playing. And that is a legitimate downside of Titanfall 2, especially if you're going to get it on the PC, but I'm sure the consoles aren't that far behind. That Titanfall, I think, picked a horrible time to actually come out. Titanfall 2 should have come out in the spring or summer of next year, a time when, you know, what else is coming out? Those times are usually people are dying for new things to play. Having Titanfall 2 come out in the summer or spring months would be fantastic. A lot more people would be interested in it. But trying to compete with Battlefield and Call of Duty, I think, was the wrong move, and it's somewhat hurting the game because, you know, your desire to play the game obviously goes down if you can't even find a match in the game type you want. That is a concern. However, pretty much everything else I think about the multiplayer is, I mean, it's frankly pure praise. I have been loving the Titanfall multiplayer. Now, some people don't like it, but thankfully Titanfall 2 had a pretty open beta that went on for quite a while, so a lot of people did get to experience the Titanfall 2 multiplayer. So you know what to expect. If you enjoyed the beta, you're going to enjoy the full game even more. There's just more stuff to do. More Titans, more guns, more pilot abilities, just more of everything, and that's fantastic. A lot of people really liked the original Titanfall multiplayer, and I'm definitely one of them. The biggest failing of that game's multiplayer was that there just wasn't enough after launch support, and there just wasn't enough stuff to do. Once you unlocked the guns and the Titans, what else did you do? Really nothing. There wasn't even gun camos in that game that you could sink your time in, go and earn. This time around, totally different. There's a bunch of camos to unlock on every gun. There's a bunch of camos to unlock on the Titans. There's really just time sinks in the game. Stuff that you can get lost on. Goals that you can play this game for hours and hours, hundreds, thousands of hours. You know, there's a lot of people out there who are completionists and like doing that sort of thing. Like, it's like in Call of Duty when you try to get the best camos on all of the guns, like unlock the Dark Matter camo in Black Ops 3. That goal that players have to work towards was simply missing in the original Titanfall, and that was definitely my biggest complaint and the reason I stopped playing the original Titanfall. That has been completely solved. I'm thankful to say it's been completely solved in Titanfall 2. There's a lot of endgame goals to work towards, tons of stuff to go and earn. If you're a completionist and you like Titanfall 2, you can sink hours and hours and hours into this game and you'll still always have something to work towards, which is fantastic. Post-launch support also looks great with this game. There's going to be new maps, hopefully new Titans. The Titanfall devs themselves tweeted out, and new weapons. If all of that stuff truly happens and we get new weapons, new maps, new Titans, all with no requirement to buy a Season's Pass, the Titanfall devs have been adamant that you won't need a Season's Pass. This game is going to have a phenomenal and active multiplayer for a very long time. Yes, the servers aren't doing so well right now, but hopefully they will continue to rise, and as support for this game, as more stuff comes out and more people realize, hey, you can have a fully functioning multiplayer with a bunch of stuff to do, and you don't need a Season's Pass, you just buy the game and that's it. I mean, I expect this game to get more and more popular. The overarching elements aside, the actual specifics of the multiplayer, and these elements do apply to single player as well, but the gunplay is crispy. Like, coming from Destiny, it is so nice to play a game where your shots always register, where you're not getting shot behind walls, you're not getting, seeing people lag around the map and stuff. That has not happened to me at all in Titanfall 2. Everything is fucking crispy. The gunplay feels so good. It feels fantastic to be able to outplay people, use the wall, jump above people, just turn on people. It just feels so good. And I love how it's also now basically two different games. You have the Call of Duty-esque style of arcade shooter when you're on the ground, when you're playing a pilot and you're versing other pilots. And then you have almost an Overwatch style of gameplay that comes up when you call in your Titan. Each Titan is designed differently, they all have different weapons and different abilities, and again, it feels more like an Overwatch. You're all trying to use your abilities and your Titans and outplay other Titans. It's a very interesting and dynamic style of gameplay that you're basically playing two different games rolled into one experience. Now, depending on what game mode you play, but the most popular game modes are going to have the AI combatants as well. Grunts and Spectres are going to be running around and you can kill them too. This, I think, is brilliant, and I cannot believe that other games haven't caught on to this. I expect, honestly, Call of Duty and Battlefield to hopefully start implementing stuff similar, because firstly, it lets you feel like you're a part of a bigger conflict. It can be 6v6, but when there's drop pods falling out of the sky, letting out a bunch of grunts, and you're running around steamrolling them and getting, quad feeds with grenades, it makes it feel a lot more hectic than it kind of actually is, which is great for immersion. Furthermore, it is so casual friendly. It's like the best idea for the casual players, because the casual players, if you're not that good, if you get stomped by pilots all the time, you can still hop into Titanfall, play attrition or another game mode with the AI combatants, fight a bunch of grunts and slaughter a bunch of grunts, and still be able to call in a Titan, help your team, do some stuff that's actually useful, and still feel like you're part of a fight. Even if every once in a while a pilot comes by and destroys you, you still feel like you're killing guys, you still feel like you're helping your team, and depending on what game mode you are, you actually are helping your team. And the best part is that this whole mechanic doesn't inflict with the hardcore players being hardcore. All of the people that really want to win are still wall running around killing each other, and the casuals are having fun on the ground with the grunts. Like, it's just two separate systems going on within the same matches. I think it's such a great way to include those casual and less skilled players into the experience, have them still feel like they're a part of the team and still actually be a part of the team without hurting the hardcore players who want to play aggressively, who want to go around slaughtering each other and quickscoping each other and all of that stuff. So, what you have in Titanfall 2, in my opinion, is firstly, a shockingly good single player. Fun, interesting, enthralling. You're probably going to love the single player. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of people talk about the single player, how good it is. And you have a very fun, enthralling, interesting multiplayer. The multiplayer, I'm loving the multiplayer in Titanfall 2. Everything feels great. The movement is so fluid. The gunplay is, again, crispy. All of the weapons feel unique. It's a very fun experience, and anyone who enjoyed the beta, again, I would highly recommend you check out the full game, because it's the beta on steroids. All of these new things to do now added with the full game. So, what it boils down to is that I am really enjoying Titanfall 2, and I would highly recommend it to anyone that asks. With that being said, should you buy Titanfall 2? And I'm sure you guys are probably thinking, okay, you just went off on how fantastic the game is non-stop. I'm sure you're going to say, yes, of course, buy it. And that is true. I would overall recommend, yeah, if you have some money lying around, buy Titanfall 2. I think it's fantastic. With that being said, right now, with the current gaming landscape, a lot of people are going to be picking between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare / Modern Warfare Remastered. And I know a lot of people are interested in playing what their friends are playing. It's not as fun playing by yourself when you get a full team together. And that's true for all of these games. It's true for Battlefield, true for Titanfall 2, true for Call of Duty. Much more fun to play with your friends. Now, why am I even mentioning this? Well, the fact of the matter is, as I said earlier in the video, Titanfall 2 is kind of the dark horse behind Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty. It came out at an awkward time. A lot of your guys' friends that are watching this video are probably going to be buying one of those two games, whether they're COD fans or Battlefield fans. You're going to have a bunch of friends buying Battlefield 1. If you're the only person who buys Titanfall 2, you won't enjoy it as much. So, if you have the money lying around, if you're looking for something to play, you don't care about Battlefield or COD, buy Titanfall 2. I highly recommend it. But what I would probably more realistically suggest is get Titanfall 2 for Christmas. Christmas is coming up soon, and Titanfall 2 is a great thing that you can put on your list for your family members to get for you. If you have that aunt who's always asking you, what should I get you for Christmas? Tell her Titanfall 2. Right now, you're probably going to invest in Battlefield or COD, play it with your friends, but tell all your friends to get Titanfall for Christmas. I'm sure you're going to get a bunch of people getting it for Christmas. That'll hopefully solve the server problems that I mentioned earlier, and therefore you can still get Titanfall 2. I think that's a lot more realistic than telling people to go out and buy it now when it doesn't have the greatest population, not too many people are playing it right now, and a lot of your friends are going to be purchasing COD or Battlefield for themselves. Titanfall 2 is absolutely worth buying. Try to convince your family and your friends to get it for Christmas because rocking a full squad in Titanfall is a ton of fun. That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed and found this helpful. Now, if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you want to see more Titanfall content, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.